Hi everyone, this is VSG Steve with my 13-month update on my VSD surgery, which I had back in June 2016. For those first joining me, thanks for joining us. My starting weight was 155.5 kilos, and I'm now down to 95.3 kilos, or 210.1 pounds, which was a loss of 132.9 pounds, or 60.2 kilos. So I actually lost a 0.1 of a kilo this week, or 0.2 of a pound. So not huge numbers, but that's fine. I'm not that concerned. As I've been saying for months and months and months, I'm not really focused on that weight goal now. I'm more focused on my fitness goals. And what's been happening this week was a big fitness goal. So what happened last Sunday was I did my first half marathon. So there is the medal that I was given to prove that I've completed it. So So I probably should go back to a bit of a lead up to their week. My wife and a friend of ours had quite a big trivia night. They were running the night before. So in preparation for the half marathon, where they talk about making sure you have a nice quiet night at home, make sure you have a bit of a pasta or something for dinner, and nice and relaxed, don't do a lot. Well, I ignored all of those recommendations. I did actually get out to do a little bit of a run on the Saturday afternoon. I had to go into the city and pick up a couple of vouchers and also pick up my race kit. So what I would have normally done was two parts of the city I needed to get to, and I would have thought, I'll just park at one place, go there, and then drive down and park at the other place. And I thought, no, bugger that. I need to go for a bit of a run just to keep the legs moving. So I actually parked about 500 metres away from the first location. I ran down there in my jeans, and then ran down to the second location and ran back, and it was only about 2k, so it was actually a good keep the legs moving on the day before the run. But didn't get home until about 12:30, 1 o'clock that night. So it was a big late night. Had bugger all sleep. The alarm went off at 5 a.m. as I was getting picked up at 6. To actually be into town by 7 for the race. I think we were starting about 8 o'clock. So it was quite a big day. It was a big day with not a lot of sleep. So my aim for the run was just to really complete it. But if I was going to set a time goal, I was trying to set a time goal of 2 hours and 10 minutes. So the longest running race I've ever done was I did a 15k about 10 years ago, which was about 1 hour 30. But the 2:10 I'd worked out was if I kept running at a 6 minute pace for each kilometre, that would worked out about 2 hours 6, and then it gave me a little bit of a 4 minute. I thought it gives me 4 minutes to play with, and keeps me under that 2:10. Now the guys that I actually went into the city with, there's a couple of guys who have done a lot of marathons and are a lot quicker than I am, and I'm good mates with one of them. So we went in there, and I decided to actually start running with them on the morning. Originally, my plan was just to run the race by myself and not get involved with anyone else, but just go on my own pace. Started running with those guys. They were taking it easy on their pace, which was about 5 minute Ks. So I actually started running with them, and I actually kept up with them for the first 5Ks, I was really pleased. And actually, when I'm looking at my times, that's actually the second quickest 5K I'd ever done. So I was pretty stoked about that. I was getting to about 5Ks, and I'm thinking, well, I don't want to push myself and keep with these guys all the way, and then actually die in the backside late in the run. So I thought, I'll go if I can get to 5Ks, then I'll let them run at their pace, and I'll run at my pace, and then see how they go. So did that. At the 5K mark, I let them run away, and just kept running, and just ran at my pace. Had my earphones going, and then just ran at my pace all the way through. Got the run that we were doing was the Run Melbourne run, which is around the CBD and goes around a lot of the sites around Melbourne. So if people have been to Melbourne before, it went past Flinders Street, from Fed Square to Flinders Street Station, down to Docklands, or along the Yarra River around the casino, down to on the way down around the Tan, which is probably the most famous running area in Melbourne, and then down past the tennis centre, so where the Australian Open happens, past the MCG, and back along Flinders Street Station, and then finishing up down at Burren Marr. And so got to about doing really, really well. There was lots of entertainment on this run, so they had lots of kind of the local dance groups out and lots of music all the way through. So it was a really kind of highly motivated kind of run, and probably the best well organised runs I've ever been on. So if you're in Melbourne and you're looking for a bit of a challenge in setting your goals, I'd really recommend the Run Melbourne run. So took you around the sites. I got to about the 10k mark. There was water stations all the way through. Got to about the 10k mark, and decided to have an energy bar. I was running in a top with some pockets, but I had a number of energy bars, a couple of muesli bars, and a couple of gels in there. Got to the 10 kilometre mark. Hadn't really needed anything to eat, so I actually had a energy bar, which was great. And then kept running, feeling well. I got to about the 16, 17k, and I was really starting to struggle. But look, just kept going. I decreased my pace a little bit to going out. I had been running between 5.5 minute kilometres out, and then went out to about 6. And then I think there was 1 kilometre I went out to about 7. But there was a spectator on the side of the road at about the 17k mark who had a big box of lollies, so I grabbed it, and she offered me a couple of lollies. Had a couple of that had one at the 17k mark, had a gel at about the 19k mark, and then actually after the gel it really helped me to get it through. We got to the 20k mark, and there was a bit of quite a big incline hill, which was quite interesting. And a couple of the runs that I've done, longer runs, race, I've had a hill around that kind of about 80 or 90% way through the run, and I always find it interesting because you get to that hill and then you really notice that there's a lot of people who are really struggling by that stage, and they're really walking up that hill. And I think the gel had really helped me and get me going, so I actually sprinted up that hill and and really overtook a lot of those kind of people. So got the turn at the 20 kilometre mark. We kept running, and then there was some signage saying there was a 500 metre sign saying 500 metres left, and then 400 metre left. And then I think that's when it hit me that after all the months of training, all the work that I had done, bang, it hit me that I was actually going to complete this run. And the same thing happened when I did the Olympic triathlon. I got to about 400 out, and that's when it hit me that I was actually going to finish this race. I was always confident that I was going to do the race. My longest run pre-race was up to 19 kilometres. But it wasn't until I really hit that 400 metre mark that it really hit me that I was actually going to complete the run. So that's when I started tearing up a little bit, in kind of overwhelmed by it, and I wasn't running in my sunglasses today on Sunday, so I was it was a bit harder to hide this, but literally that's when I decided, look, I've got 400 metres left, I'm going to really sprint it home. So I actually really took off and started overtaking as many people as I could. So ran over the line, looked up at the sign, and it actually said it was 2 hours 12 minutes, and I was thinking, oh no, I didn't break that 2 hours 10. But then I actually realised that was actually from when the gun went off, and then there was also about a 10-minute gap from when the gun went off to when I actually crossed the starting point at the very start. So next thing I know, I get a bit buzz in my phone, which was on my back, and it gave me my time, which was 2 hours, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So I was absolutely, completely stoked about that. So really, really excited about it, and really quite really, really overwhelmed by it all. The great thing about doing the run the other day was I actually got to meet up with someone else who Cassandra, who's actually been doing she's been doing some amazing stuff also with her running and getting back into fitness and things like that. And she had a bypass surgery not long before I did. So, and she's done amazing things, losing over 100 kilos. I think it's up to 90 kilos or 100 kilos. She's absolutely amazing things. And she was doing the 6K out later in the morning. So I actually went out and had some breakfast, and then hung around to see and we caught up. We caught up for about 20 minutes to half an hour, just chatted, and I actually got to meet someone else, another friend of hers who'd actually had weight loss surgery, and got to meet her hubby and all that. And it was fantastic just to be able to share both of our experiences, and it's people like her that are keeping me motivated, and just keeping those kind of, and it's really sharing the successes in the community that we all have. How did I pull up? I actually pulled up really, really well. So I was a bit sore on Monday. So as expected, I've run 21 Ks, and I actually was standing up for a lot of the morning, waiting for Cassandra to come in and just waiting around, chatting to people and things like that. So. So I'd actually was hanging around the race for a good 3 or 4 hours after the race. So I probably could have been sitting down and taking it easy. But Monday morning, went to work, got to lunchtime and thought, look, I'm a bit sore. I might go for a swim. So I just swam a kilometre just to I always find after a long run, a long training, getting out in the pool and doing a bit of training, a bit of a swim is good. So. Then Tuesday, went out for a bit of a bike ride I think I said in my last video that I've been doing a bit of mountain biking at work. We've got some mountain bikes at work, and then we've got a bit of kind of a couple of mountain bike tracks out the back, which are really good kind of, I can go out for about 40 minutes and just really smash it out on the mountain bike and I really enjoy that mountain biking. So and I just went out by myself, went out for a ride, and it was actually interesting because it was a beautiful day, and I was riding around, and I actually there was a number of people from work who actually were walking on that day and going up the hills and things like that, and there was a number of them who they didn't actually recognise me when I overtook them, and then it was later in the day when they go, oh, that was Steve. So we've got where I work, there's probably over 500 or 600 people there, and I'm actually probably, in the sense of my work, I'm actually probably, I joke that I'm more known than I know people. So it's good to, and I had a whole lot of comments of going, oh, it's amazing seeing you out there on your bike and all this kind of stuff. So it was fantastic. Wednesday, another highlight of my week was Wednesday. I think I've talked about our time trial that we do at work. So on Wednesdays, there's a couple of us who go. There's a route that's been staff have been riding around for years, and it's about a 20k route that we do. And I've been doing it on a Wednesday when I can. So started doing it with the guys, and it's a bit of a handicap. So you go out, they time you, and then what they do the following week. They handicap everyone, so the idea is everyone finishes at the same time at the end with your handicaps. And the idea is that you're trying to get out there and not let the other people catch you. Well, I started off when I was first started doing. I was doing it in 41 minutes and things like that. I did went out and did the ride again a couple of weeks ago, and I was down to about 40 minutes. Well, on Wednesday, I smashed it. I was 37 and a half minutes. So it was really interesting because there was a guy who I'd given a 5-minute start, and I actually overtook him in the first 5Ks. And then there was in probably the first 3Ks, and then there was a number of guys behind me who would normally have caught me, and didn't even see me. They a couple of them had said that they saw me very early in the piece, but they said that they didn't see me on the track for the rest of the time. So there's a bit of a joke at work with the handicappers that I'm going to get smashed with the handicap this week. So it'll be very interesting. And the guys that I'm riding against in that group, there's one other guy there's two other guys who are a lot quicker. They're really, really quick. I think one of them did it in 33 minutes the other day when I was 37, but most of the other guys are doing it in probably 40, 41, something like that. So when I first started doing this route with them about a month ago, I was probably on the second slowest, and now I'm probably the second quickest. So it's interesting and where I'm coming and how it's all happening. Thursday did another swim, so I just went out, did 16. I just did 1,200 meters. So I did some sprints and things like that. So I was getting back into it. So I felt really, really good. So and then I've had a bit of a rest day today, which is good. I think I needed a bit of a rest day. But it's also interesting that been doing, getting out there, and it doesn't feel. I'm not used to having rest days now, so but it's good. It's good fun. So what's next race wise? As I said, I always what I've been trying to do with my races and all things is have my short term goals, but more my long term goals. There's been lots of people have been asking me, well, what am I going to do? I'm concentrating on my running until the summer comes, and which I'll be getting back into triathlons, and that's where really my focus is. So there's another big run that's happening in October, which is the Melbourne Marathon. So there's two options that I've got. I'm debating at the moment, and that's to do another half marathon at that race, and then the other one's to do the full marathon. So the other big thing that's been happening in the sense of triathlons is I've been re-evaluating what I do for the next season. So do I keep it at the sprint and the Olympic levels and stay in the same distance of the sprints of a 500 swim, 200, 20k ride and a 5k run, or an Olympics, which are 1.5k swim, 40k ride and a 10k run, or do I step it up and start looking at the half marathon, which is a 1.9 swim, so it's actually not that much further in the swim, but it's a 90k ride and it's a 21k run. So also knowing that I've been watching, there's another, I think I've talked about this before, but there's a big triathlon, there's a YouTube channel called Triathlon Taran, which is a guy in Canada who does a video every day, and if you've ever wanted to get into triathlons or get some, he's a fantastic resource. So I really recommend if you're keen to getting into that. And one of the things is he's been doing triathlons for about 10 years, and one of the things, the way his journey has gone is he started off doing some sprints, then he moved up to Olympics, then he realised that the Olympic was actually hammering him too much, so he actually went back to doing sprints. And his theory is that when you're doing triathlons and even running races, it's better to actually stay at a level that when you get into that stage where you're managing the distance and the distance isn't managing you. So I would say when I look back at my Olympic this year, I think the distance was still managing me. So I pretty much pulled up really, really sore. I was still trying to manage my nutrition through the run, through it all. Look, with the half marathon I did on the weekend, I think I did a lot better in the sense of managing my distance, managing my time. I was really and managing my nutrition with it. So, and also recognising that watching some of the veterans on the YouTube, in the weight loss community, and how they talk about that third year blues. So, and in the process of thinking about especially with the triathlons, do I just step it up into a half Ironman, or do I stay in those sprints? Now, I'm actually thinking of delaying just stepping up to the half Ironman, because I think I might use that as kind of in my third year to actually make sure that I keep focused and don't fall into that third year blues. And then also looking at wanting to do an Ironman at some stage, but I'll use that as down the track a lot further. I don't want to rush it all in there and achieve all these goals very, very quickly, when I mightn't be able to keep the motivation longer term. So where I think I'm managing this a lot better, that'd be a better way of doing it. And this is the same thing that happens with my the idea of having a half marathon or marathon in October. I think the plan will be to do the half marathon. The only thing that might put a curveball on this is it's the 40th year of the Melbourne Marathon this year, and they're looking for people to who they can actually kind of ambassadors for the for Melbourne Marathon. And so they're looking for people that are between the age of 35 and 45, or preferably 40 years of age. That's me, who are going to be doing their first marathon. And that's what I was thinking, well, if I've put and they were calling out for applications this week, I've put an application in. If it comes back that I become an ambassador, well, I might actually need to do the training and step it up and do that and do the marathon. If not, I think what I'll do is I'll just stay and do the half marathon. So that's pretty. But I've got a couple of months to worry about that between now and I think it's the 15th of October. So we'll see what happens from there. So thanks for following my video. It's been a long one tonight, but I hope you've got to this point, and I hope you're getting something from this. And look forward to speaking to you guys in the next couple of weeks again. All right, see you soon. Bye.